from Prabhudas. Lilladher joins in. Ajay, thank you so much indeed for joining us. What did you make of it broadly? And do you expect numbers to look up for the next quarter?
Good morning. When we started the earnings season, the expectation that we had was we'll end up the full year with an earnings growth of around 4.7%. However, I think as the numbers are out now, I think our estimate is that we've ended up FY15 at just 1.7% growth on a YOY basis, and we're looking at an EPS of around 412 rupees for the current financial year. I think the story actually is of contrasting halves, because if you look at the largest sector, banking and financial services, I think investors have taken heart from the fact that a large number of banks basically have guided that the fresh slippages in FY16 would be lower than what one had seen in FY15. And the main issue concerning investors always was the accretion to stressed assets and restructured assets in the banking system. And there one has taken heart that the guidance from ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, as well as SBI and BOB clearly indicates that maybe I think the worst seems to be behind us. And as economic recovery picks up steam from the second half of current financial year, mainly led by public expenditure in sectors such as roads and railways, I think one can start seeing easing of the problems that the banks face. If you look at sectors like IT, clearly I think it has disappointed primarily because of cross-currency headwinds.
Right.
And also the fact that the US economy is weaker than what was initially estimated, with the GDP there falling at 0.7% as against 0.2% as initially expected.
Sure. Let me push that point about IT that you made. Most analysts tend to believe that this is not just about the currency. This is about the top line trajectory perhaps settling at a lower level. Is that a cause of concern for you?
Yes, because I think many reports coming from some of the technology veterans globally are seeing that from a medium-term perspective, one will really have to see a complete transformation of how you deliver services and an emphasis on newer value-added services, be it artificial intelligence, automation, emphasis on less number of people. And that's why I think this paradigm shift some of the large companies in Indian IT will have to navigate, and that's quite a treacherous path. But the companies are cognizant of the fact that they'll need to bring about that transformation, at the same time ensure that their traditional businesses, which have got commoditized, I think how do you ensure that those businesses also continue not to be a drag on these high value added businesses. So from that perspective, I think IT will have a very challenging time over the next 2 to 3 years. Just two, I think, instances I'll give you. Both Mr. Sikka in his con call mentioned about this transformation happening, and I think the Wipro also has mentioned that nearly a third of the workforce that they have possibly will need to be reskilled or retooled to ensure that you go into services such as data engineering or mobile applications, services of the future. So I think that's a challenge that the Indian IT cannot but face and face squarely.
One final question, Ajay. This is with respect to domestic consumption story. Automobiles, FMCG, do these numbers repose confidence for you?
I think auto numbers for the month of May also clearly show that I think the momentum is picking up, and we are very positive on companies like Maruti Suzuki and Ashok Leyland. I think focusing more on the commercial vehicle side, because that the commentary that is coming from many capital goods companies is that green shoots are visible in sectors such as mining, and there is a direct linkage between the improvement in mining sector, logistics, and a linkage with MCV, HCV sector. The numbers put out by Ashok Leyland clearly are indicative of the fact, and in the con call the company also mentioned that the LCV revival happens roughly 6 months after the MCV, HCV revival, and the numbers they put out for LCVs yesterday also bear fact that there is a revival happening. So I think these two companies, in our view, investors should look at with a medium-term perspective, along with in auto ancillaries companies such as Bharat Forge and Motherson Sumi, which continues to chug along at a very good clip.
All right, Ajay, we'll leave it there. Many thanks indeed for joining us with your perspective. Ajay Bodke from Prabhudas, Lilladher, talking about earnings, the quarter gone by, and what's expected. Meanwhile, we'll be